Hi, welcome to the Meeting of Minds podcast. I'm Philippa, and this is the last episode of 2023. No, see, I'm already a year ahead. This is the last episode of 2022. Wishing my whole year away at this rate. So as it's the last episode, I thought I would do something a little bit different. I'm bringing you an amazing mega guest who I'm going to introduce you to in the moment. But we are just going to have a little bit of a celebration, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat, and we're going to see what happens. So, come along with us on, I don't know, whatever's going to happen. And I would just point out that there probably will be some swear words. In fact, it will be very disappointing if we haven't had quite a few swear words by the end of this episode. So it will have said explicit when you clicked on it, but just to let you know, there probably will be some swearing. So if that might offend you, might be a good idea not to listen or await the bleeps. I'm not going to bleep it out, but you know. So today's guest is Pippa Parfait. So Pippa is many things. Pippa is a coach and a business strategist. She's the co-founder of the Disobedient Business Co. She is the leader of the mastermind that I am currently part of, which is amazing. But most importantly, for me, Pippa is my friend, and she's my swimming buddy. And, you know, she's just a general all-round fabulous person. So I couldn't think of anybody better to record this episode with to close the year. So it gives me very great pleasure, Pippa Parfait, to welcome you to the Meeting of Minds podcast.
Fuck yes.
There we go, and we're off.
I couldn't. You can't introduce me like that and then not expect me to kick off the very first word on the podcast with a yes. Yes. I'm very grateful to be here, and I am beyond excited to do this with you. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a tad strange. We're wearing a lot more clothes than we usually wear when we're together.
Well, did you hear that as you said it?
Yeah, I did hear it as I said it.
Awesome.
Because normally we're wearing our swimming costumes and we're in what is currently a very cold marine lake. So that's why we're wearing more clothes than we do normally.
Yes, for clarification, listeners.
For clarification, should that be needed. Obviously, it's December, so we've both got our Christmas hats on. Mine is not going to last that long, I have to say, because, as you know, Pippa, I've got a massive head. And it is slowly rising up as we speak already, and it's really uncomfy. And Pippa knows this because when we swim in the lake, I have tried a swimming cap, and it's as we swim along, it slowly rises up my head until eventually it pops off, and it's a bit stupid.
Oh, Philip, right. I've run out of paper for the double entendres. I think we might just happy Christmas. Welcome, everybody.
Happy Christmas. And actually, to have another swear word, you normally call the swimming cap the penis cap, don't you?
Oh, your penis cap. Yeah,
my
absolutely.
Penis. Yeah, where's the penis?
It really is, and it does ride all the way up off your head. I feel like we should move on.
Oh, okay, right. So I'm taking my hat off because that's enough merriment. It's really uncomfortable. And my lighting is really rubbish because, yet again, I haven't managed to sort it out. But luckily, your lighting is amazing. And you see, if I turn my head slightly, there you go. You can see my ring light, which is over here. Because otherwise...
Oh, my ring light is very helpful, as you can see, all the way in the background.
I did notice
doing
that.
Fuck all for anybody, all the way back there.
Exactly. Right, we do have something very important to do, don't we, before we start this conversation?
Oh, is it time?
It is. It is. It's time. So, for anybody watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see what's happening. But for everybody who's listening, we have little bottles of Prosecco. We're just going to pop our little bottles and we're going to cheers each other for what has been 2022.
It definitely has been 2022. That is one thing you can say.
Exactly. And I got the date right this time. Right. Would you like to pop your cork first?
Pop my... Oh, dear.
Pop your plastic, actually.
Sure. Let me see if we can do this without covering the house with... Oh, that's so underwhelming. It's a screw cap.
Oh, is it not a pop? Oh,
no, there's no popping gonna happen.
Oh, did you get a tiny bit of that? No,
I got a hiss. Yeah.
A hiss.
I was being very cautious, so mine did very gently.
I'm making a big deal of unscrewing it so that it sounds like
again,
we're doing...
for anybody watching, my new Prosecco Coupe glasses, which I'm deliriously happy with, are being christened this evening.
Yes, Pippa is holding up the most fabulous champagne coupe. New word to me today.
It's a coupe.
It's a coupe. I have a flute.
Nice.
So I am just going to pour this in nice. It's not even glugging into the glass in a satisfying fashion. Don't know if you can hear those bubbles.
Oh, hang on.
I can hear the bubbles. Who doesn't like?
I just put them up to my ear. I've
I've overfilled the glass.
Philippa has shot her load.
Oh my God, we're off. Well, we've been off since the word go, actually. Right. So
I feel like this is going to be a very different kind of podcast episode for you.
I think it is. It is. Such is the way to end the year with you. Right. Cheers, love.
Cheers, love. Absolutely. Hang on, let's ding somehow.
Ding.
Ding. There we go. Don't know what I'm dinging against.
No, me neither. Happy end of 2022 to you, Pippa Parfait, to everybody who's listening. Thank you for being here and listening to this. What is probably going to be a slightly crazy, slightly odd, strange, unusual, end of year, end of season, because this is the end of season 5 of the podcast and everything. So cheers.
It's not a bad drop, as my old grandfather used to say.
Yeah, it's all right, that, isn't it? Right.
Not bad.
So you're not just here to swear and drink Prosecco.
Oh, you have missold me this podcast.
I know.
In that case.
I know. I'm sorry. I told you here's a bottle of Prosecco. Come on screen and drink it. And that's what we're going to do. But I lied.
Okay, cool.
I lied. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what has been bringing us joy this year. What joy means, what's been bringing us joy. We're not going to talk about any of the not so joyful things. We're just going to talk about joy, if that's okay.
That's totally fine. Okay, so in recognition, so this is the only time I'm going to recognize it then in that case, of what has been a combination, I think for many people, not just for myself, of everything from shit show to extraordinary year.
Yeah,
we're going to lean towards the extraordinary for today.
Just for the purposes of this conversation we're going to have here, because yes, we must recognize that this year has been many things to many people, and a lot of them will not have included joy. And it's been tough, and it is tough.
Well, I wonder, once we start having this conversation, actually, whether folks that may have started listening to this podcast episode, here is a prediction, thinking, you know what, I couldn't find a single fucking ounce of joy in my year if I tried, might well be able to by the time we finish chatting. There's a thought. There's a thought indeed. Let's see. Let's see what ideas we've had, what things we can come up with, and let's see if we can inspire anybody to find those moments for themselves, looking back. And just for the record, Philippa, I am pretty much teetotal, not intentionally. I just very rarely socialise, and so I very rarely drink. So this could go in all sorts of places. It's
could go in all sorts of places. And actually, for the record, I don't drink very much anymore either. So, could be interesting. May the odds be ever in your favour. Yes. Okay. So my word for this year, funnily enough, was play. And I think that play has found its way into quite a few areas of my life. It's found its way into work, weirdly, because I've been playing a bit of this and a bit of that and trying this out and trying that out. It's found its way into home as well. My kids don't always appreciate my playing, but hey, that's the joy of having teenage boys. And it's definitely found its way into my social life outside work. What does one call that? It's not work and it's not home life. The rest of my life. Just life. Okay, yeah, just life. And it's been really interesting for me to play with the word play and choose the playful option sometimes. It's been really interesting for me to choose joy, which is really what I have been doing. It's been very intentional, and as a result, I've found lots of little moments of joy. Now, I had no idea that was going to happen when I chose the word play. And I know play and joy are not the same, but play has definitely formed a big part of that joy. What about you and joy and things this year?
Well, here's by way of contrast, my word of the year was moderation.
Oh, was it? I don't think I even knew that. Moderation.
No, I don't think I've mentioned it.
That's not a word. If you don't mind me saying, that's not a word I think.
Not a word that one associates with me very often, is it? No, thanks very much. I say this with all the love I usually intend it when I say it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
In all, I am a very extreme person is not the right word, but I don't tend to operate as a human in the middle. I don't tend to wash around in the middle. And in many respects, that's amazing. It served me incredibly well, both in terms of sort of tasking and all that kind of stuff, but also in terms of, getting things done, personality. I am who I am. Where it hasn't served me very well and where it kind of came from was in this operating my life and my work and everything from that to my hobbies at the extreme ends of everything. So always being either full on, yay, rah, or, oh, that's a good noise for a podcast, or flat on my back in a amoeba kind of state. There's rarely any kind of middle ground. So playing for me this year, interestingly enough, was with finding where I didn't have to operate at the extremes. And you would think that probably wouldn't have a huge amount of causal link, just any links to joy, but it really has. Because just to give you an example, one of the things that played into moderation was I did a pottery course back in March. So it's like a 5-week pottery course evenings back in March. And I signed up for this thing with the deliberate attempt at being shit, which is going to sound a bit bizarre and like a monstrous waste of money, right? But I just wanted to go along. I wanted to make stuff. I wanted to meet some people. And I didn't want to, as I know many people find themselves doing, take up a new hobby and then convince myself I was going to suddenly start making pottery, open a shop in Bristol, sell my extraordinarily shaped mugs for a gazillion pounds each and become famous for mug making.
Yeah.
Plot twist, I didn't.
No, we all have those little dreams, don't we? But yeah.
Turns out I'm terrible at pottery. And the joy that came from being relatively terrible. Don't get me wrong, I made 1 or 2 things that are actually passable. But we're talking passable. We're not talking sellable. We're not talking good. They're just fine. They are, and they bring me my incredibly poorly shaped bits of tea light holder and my slightly wobbly crisp pot, which for the record is nowhere near big enough for crisps, but it'll have to do the job. Bring me so much joy just to take them out of the cupboard. They're terrible. If I'd bought them, I'd hide them and I'd never use them, or I would have taken them down the charity shop by now. But every time I get this thing out and, I have that bag of crisps that I'm going to eat without, I'm bothering to take them out of the bag, of course. My bowl comes out and every time I do, it's like, I made that.
Yeah.
And moderation directly resulted in those little bits of joy that have served me. The course was over by the 31st of March. Every month, in some way, shape, or form, those little bits of pottery have brought me just little hinges of joy, if you like.
So do you think that maybe that you started putting that moderation into practice early on in that pottery course, and you did it just for the experience of doing it? You purposely set out with the intent to enjoy it, not to turn it into your next sort of business idea, and to just go and spend time creating something, shit or not shit, but and do you think that sort of started your year off in a way in that way, it worked. You'd got what you wanted out of it. And that sort of has played out more during the year perhaps because of how you started it with that pottery course.
Yeah, maybe. I think the moderation was a really, it became more of a really determined goal, if you like. And with every waking week, let alone waking day, it's been a 365 day, or it will be a 365 day experiment where in some moments I've been surprised at how possible it's been to be middle of the road. And sometimes those middle of the road experiences or moments have resulted in what I would previously have, been surprised to have been little bits of joy that have kind of gone, oh, that's interesting, because I didn't pursue that in some kind of previously like go get it kind of way, which is me living at the sort of top end of the extremes, if you like.
Yeah.
And other times it's been the proverbial shit show. It's been very difficult. It's been pursue moderation and scroll, and then roll back into extremes in all sorts of ways. And there's no point going into the detail of them. But the thing I think that's been really interesting is the infectiousness, whether it started with the pottery course, or whether it possibly even started a little bit before that, which I think it might have done, of finding the little bits of joy. Because, there's not a set of circumstances before March where I would have taken a bowl out of the cupboard and taken any kind of particular joy in tipping crisps into it. Truth be told, and let's be completely honest, I wouldn't have taken the crisps out of the bag. I just now they go in a bowl because there's as much joy to be had from putting the crisps in the bowl as there is in just eating the freaking crisps.
Yes. Right? Yeah. And I'm sure there are probably people listening to this going, this is just crisps in a bowl. What are you talking about? And I get that, but it's not just, it's not about the crisps, is it? It's about the bowl and the time and the energy and the bit of you that you put into that bowl, and using that bowl. Using that bowl and knowing you created it. Without you making that bowl would not have existed. You could have had no, so many other bowls to put your crisps in, or indeed kept the crisps in the bag. But you made that bowl, and that bowl now exists because you made it.
And I think the thing that I've come to really love about the bowl, and let's be fair, the experience around the bowl is a metaphor, folks. Let's not drill too down into the bowl. Is just how more and more possible it's become this year to spot the joyous bits, to be quite honest with you, particularly in spite of there being some really crappy bits through the course of 2022. There hasn't been a week that's gone by where, even in the depth of the crappy bits, I haven't had an opportunity to kind of see the glimmers of joy, see the little bits of sparkle. And sometimes it's really minor things like being blown away by the sunshine on a early summer's morning, and other times it's really, really significant things, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about those. But it's been a spark, perhaps, as you said, that set about that finding the joy in the mundane, right? Which possibly a year or so ago it would just have seen as mundane.
Yes. Yeah. And it's those mundane, those ordinary little moments that we experience every day, but we either don't notice them, or we take them for granted, or we are too busy. We're just too busy. We're either too busy to notice in the first place, or we are too busy to be able to just stop and go, oh, there it is. There's the moment of joy. And just for a second or two, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, stand there with your face in the sun, and the sun is on your face, or I don't know, the sound of your children playing and just giggling with each other, or the first mouthful of a really good good meal that you've made, or a smell of a really great cup of coffee before you drink it, and it's just there in the cup with whatever shape, you know, the barista might have put on the top of it for you or not, or, you know, one you've made yourself, or, you know, a vanilla oat milk with whatever we've decided, you know, one has decided to add to it by the side of the marine lake, you know, but it's those little moments that add up.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, a friend of mine, and if you're listening, well, you do listen. So, you know, a friend of mine, messaged me not very long ago to tell me that she was out for a walk. One day it was raining. She'd taken her dogs out in the park. She really didn't want to go, but she went out. And then there were these, you know, she's walking around the park and there's a big puddle. It was one of those days where it absolutely chucked down. And there was a puddle. And there were some ducks just having a little bit of a mess about in the puddle. And she just stopped and looked at it and was like, yeah, there's that moment of joy. This is, you know, look at that. You don't get to see that every day. And how amazing is that?
So one of the things that I find both incredibly amazing and entirely unsurprising in the same breath is, and we've talked about this so many times pre the podcast, Philippa, which is this idea that it would be very easy to sit and listen to this, or even listen to you and I, you know, me listening to you and I, you having this conversation and thinking, yeah, all right, Pippa, you know, what's the remarkable thing about all of that? But I don't think we see it. Yeah. You know, it wouldn't have been Pippa too long ago who, if somebody else had said to me, just stop and put your face in the sunshine for 10 seconds, I would have called them something vaguely rude in a slightly sarcastic fashion and gone, yeah, okay, that's going to solve all my fucking problems, isn't it? Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And it's really funny how sometimes you have to start these kind of things fairly intentionally. You've almost got to go out in pursuit of the everyday joy moments before you find them.
Yeah.
You know, to be looking for them. So I think, you know, I'm segueing slightly now, but if I think about conversations I've had with clients over the years around noticing, you know, that the magical art of noticing things.
Yeah.
Which is, did you have any moments of joy today? And the answer's very easy to just go, no, Jesus, it's just been the worst day ever. But if you actually go looking for them, like most things, you can find them. And I think one of the things that is so important, and I think it's one of the things that's so important in your work, is that we are pretty conditioned to not look for the joy and the sparks and the shimmers and the glimmers, etc. We are pretty well conditioned to look for the shit and to moan and woe in our experiences of said shit.
Yeah, because if we wallow in that, if we are in that, noticing all the shit and noticing how we're not, maybe we're not ticking boxes like we're, you know, expected to, and life is not quite what we are led to believe is going to make us happy, then we are going to strive
the everyday joy
for ticking
moments
those boxes. We're going to buy more stuff.
You know, to be looking for them.
Go
if
on
I
more
think about conversations I've had with clients over the years around
allowing, of course, but we are going to carry on striving more.
Did you have any moments of joy today?
Which is going to keep us in pursuit of all those things that society tells us.
If you actually go looking for them, like most things, you can find them. And I think one of the things that is so important, I think it's one of the things that's so important in your work, is that we are pretty conditioned to not look for the joy and the sparks and the shivers and the glimmers, etc. We are pretty well conditioned to look for the shit.
Joy that are often free. They're nearly always free. They're nearly always there every day, but we don't notice them because we're too busy being in pursuit of all the other things that we should have. But those moments that, you know, fill up our cup, as you know, as the saying goes, those are the moments that actually enable us to be resilient at the times when the shit happens.
Yeah.
Because actually our cup is full of those little moments that have brought us into our body, into ourselves, and given us those little moments of joy.
And here's the thing. I don't want to you know how I feel about this particular subject, gaslighting, for example, which is, I don't want to gaslight anybody who's listening to this thinking, oh, that's all well and good for you, Pippa. You know, look for the moments of joy, and joy will be yours. It's like, yeah, but you don't have my circumstances, yes. Pippa. That's really hard. And I get that wholeheartedly. I am most definitely not advocating for the fact that if you are in the depths of a really challenging situation in your life at the moment, that looking for the moments of joy is going to somehow solve that situation. What a crock of shit. What a crock of spiritual bypassing that people come up with and basically believe that you can love and light your way out of a terrible situation. And at the same time, what hurt's it going to do? I don't mean that, you know, your situation is necessarily going to be changed, but certainly I have found when I've been in the depths of some of the most challenging periods in my life, when I've finally been in a position to be able to find some of the, if I look back now, the glimmers of joy, if I recognize them as that, they certainly multiplied. Did it suddenly fix the dire situation that I was in? Of course it didn't freaking do that. Either money or therapy or dealing with a particularly difficult situation fixed those things. But actually, when I asked myself the question, would I rather go through those really, really difficult times, whether it's this year or any other time, constantly looking for the piles of poo, rather than recognizing the tiny glimmer of joy and getting into the habit of recognizing the glimmers of joy, and therefore not manifesting more of them. I mean, but realizing that there are a lot more of them, and therefore almost unintentionally, call it subconsciously, creating more of them for myself, then I'm going to opt for that one every way. Because the other option is to basically choose to stay recognizing all the puddles of poo for what they are. And that feels pretty rubbish.
Yeah. And like you say, you very rightly point out that those moments of joy are not going to solve whatever mire you find yourself in. But what they might just do is make it a teeny bit not quite so awful that day. And like you say, they build up, and it's kind of what it's kind of what gives us it's kind of what gives us life. It's what gives us the energy to keep going. It's what gives us that sometimes just a little moment. It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay, I can do this next bit. I can do this next hard thing that I have to do. And I can perhaps do it with a little bit more energy now, because I've just had that moment that I've been aware of, that I've noticed, and that I've allowed myself to have those few seconds, or however long it takes, to actually acknowledge that thing is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it really makes me, with what both you and I have just said, it really makes me think of our swimming situation. And I'm sure you've spoken on your podcast before about your cold, wet and wild swimming with me.
I absolutely have.
So if I think about this morning and we recount this, and you and I had the same conversation this morning that goes, what the fuck are we doing?
Yes.
If I recount it in the factual sense that it is, you and I drove 30 minutes away from where we live at 8:30 in the morning at -1 degree centigrade temperature, wearing nothing but, or in my case, nothing but a swimming costume under a long dry robe, which is just a long swimming coat. Walked down to the edge of a lake where the temperature was somewhere between 5 and 6 degrees, also Celsius. Got virtually naked at the side of said lake in -1 degree. Got into the very, very, very cold lake to the point at which it hurt. There's nothing, you're sort of looking at this objectively going, well, that was a pointless waste of a 1 hour round trip, wasn't it? And then we got very cold for absolutely no reason, objectively speaking. We got naked in front of complete strangers virtually. Again, why? In -1 degree temperatures. We got into incredibly cold water to the point of view of both of us are kind of going, what's the point at which hypothermia sets in? When do we get out?
And actually, this really hurts today.
And this really hurts. My hands hurt like
your hands hurt today, yeah.
And then we get back out, we do all of those things in reverse, and we go about our lives. And what is the reason? What is the reason that we do that? It's joy.
It is.
It is joy.
It absolutely is. And you're right, because at one point we swam past the cormorant on the wall, didn't we? We had a little chat to the cormorant.
It was gorgeous.
He was lovely. He was sitting on the wall, and we had a little paddle past him, and he stayed there while we went past him. And yes, it was so cold today. It was absolutely
so cold.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's not the coldest that we're going to have to do, but it was very cold. But there was a moment where I just went, oh my God, this is amazing. It was cold and it was amazing.
And there hasn't been a single swim yet. And we have, for clarity, swum in water temperatures from about 28 downwards, because yes, I am that person that did look up the summer temperatures earlier today. And it's now somewhere between 5 and 6 degrees in the water. And we'll carry on swimming in those temperatures. And there's not yet been a day, come rain, torrential rain, just the randomest of windy weather, water coming over the top from the Bristol Channel, which just looks like, diluted poo at the best of times, even if it isn't, that we haven't gone away from that at the very minimum euphoric.
Yeah. And
just full of the joys of the community, the pals, the chats, the weird conversations that we have with the Daves, which is what I call the seagulls and the cormorants, basically unidentified flying objects are basically called Dave.
All called Dave, yeah.
All called Dave. I could sit and make a list that would fill a couple of sides of A4 paper of the little tiny weeny bits of joy that come from that collective experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about all of those, and it's because we're there together, because actually there are plenty of times where we wouldn't have gone had the other one not been going.
Yep.
But we haven't actually. We've missed a few because I wasn't very well for a week, so we've missed a few, and but not that many. But we go together, and so we have the lovely drive there. We drive out of Bristol, out of the city, and sort of fields appear and greenery appears, doesn't it? So we get a change of scenery. We are together. There is a community down there. There are more people down there. There's always other people there. Some days it's a bit too busy, but there are always people there. And, and also for me in particular, I love being in the water and sort of being enveloped by the water. It kind of feels, I don't know, there's something about the water that really settles my nervous system, that really makes me makes me feel safe, weirdly. And there's the cold water as well, and all the benefits that the cold water does for our system, for our immunity system, for our digestive system, for our mental health. There's all sorts of things going on, and there is those moments where no matter all the benefits we're getting, it's also pure joy at times. It's when you get in and it's cold, and then all of a sudden you don't feel the cold quite so much, and maybe the sun comes out and the sun hits your face. Or that day we were there. Do you remember that day we were there and it was absolutely pouring down? I mean, it rained so hard that by the time we left,
you couldn't see, could you?
No,
that's right. No, we couldn't see.
And by the time we left, like some of the roads were flooded. It had rained so much. I mean, they cleared pretty quick, but there was nothing there when we got there, and it was literally bouncing off the surface of the water, wasn't it? And that was just incredible.
Yeah, and just even on the way, Philippa, we drive pretty much the same route every time we go.
Yeah.
And, so this morning's a perfect example. It's the first proper frost that we've had, that I've seen anyway. And also simultaneously beautiful blue skies and sunshine this morning. Yeah. So the whole journey there, apart from a little bit of swearing, getting to the other side of Clifton Bridge, if you're in Bristol, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
With the traffic in the morning, was nothing more than you and I turning to each other and going, oh my God, look at the sun over those trees. Oh my God, look at the frost in that row. Every single one of those little tiny things were little moments of kind of glimmery, warm, fuzzy stuff inside that makes you kind of go, oh, I'm fucking glad to be alive today.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you pointed out, actually, that today, now it's winter and the leaves have gone off the trees. The light is the light's different anyway, but you can see the light through the trees now, whereas in the summer you can't because they're covered in leaves, and it's all different, and it's noticing that difference.
Yep.
It's being present enough in the moment to actually notice that. And that is what swimming has done for me, and I guess it's done for you as well, is made me much more present.
Yeah, I mean, I can't conceive of not going anymore. And you know what? Let's not beat about the bush. We are basically, this is in danger of turning into a wild swimming promotional podcast. And
well, all sponsors welcome.
That's not what it is at all. But everybody in their life can find ways to access that little, I'm going to go with microgasms because it's a word I've just made up and I quite like it. A microgasm. It's a little tiny gasm. Read into that what you will.
Okay.
Of joy all day long.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, if you don't notice them frequently, I think we've accidentally created that. You and I did not meet up that day to say, why don't we go swimming rather than walking for the first time? And we both went, oh yeah, what a great idea. We definitely did not get in the car that day and go, you know what, we're going to create some joy today.
No.
That wasn't the thing, was it? Not at all.
No. And that,
but having gone.
No, but that is what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like once that happens once, or if it's probably happened to everybody in their lives at least once, but once you're in a position to be able to recognize that, I truly believe that you can put some intention behind those kind of things.
Yes.
And create moments of joy because of the fact that you understand how they come about.
Yes. And like most muscles, it needs to be used. So the more we notice, the more we experience the joy, the more we understand the benefit, we can see the benefit, we can feel the benefit, the more it's like, oh, okay, that's great. Let's find another one. And before you know it, you're not just having one a day, you might be having 3, 4, 5 little ones a day. Sometimes, some days you might only get one, but while we've been talking, your lovely cat has gone and lay down on the chair behind you, and it was just like him. Yeah, and I just took a little moment to appreciate him coming in and keeping you company as you're
He's
recording
a cutie,
this,
isn't he? Look at him.
He is. And it's just, I mean, I'm sure if anybody's watching on YouTube, they probably saw him come in, but I don't know, that brought me joy that he came in to keep you company while you're recording this, and I've got a candle like flickering here. I tend to put candles on quite a lot, and it's just taking a second to appreciate the beauty of that flickering flame. And it can be big moments, but it's those little moments that add up, like my friend who saw the ducks in the puddle. And I think, she did say to me, I wouldn't have noticed that if I hadn't been listening to you talk about joy and acknowledging those moments of joy. So
paddling ducks would have brought me a ton of joy. I love a paddling duck.
Yeah. And what would the ducks have been called?
Dave.
Obviously. Dave the cormorants, Dave the gulls, Dave the ducks. Dave the ducks.
Squirrels. It's not just birdie friends, it's little 4-legged friends, all sorts of legged friends.
It is. It is. I feel like this is a really lovely way to have ended this season of the podcast, because I have been talking to all my guests about joy, but to have one episode totally about joy is really quite marvelous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Were there any other things about joy that you wanted to share or had on your mind? I'm not expecting you to. I'm just wondering if there is because you've normally got something to say.
I'm never shy of an opinion, am I?
You're never shy of a few words, are you? So
thanks, love. No, you know what? It's probably to reiterate what I said earlier, which is if there's anybody that's even having an inkling of that kind of gaslighty BS that you get on all the sort of, just sprinkle stardust on it and everything's going to be okay type podcasts, which you're not about, I'm not about. I mean, I couldn't be less about it. This is not about gaslighting yourself and basically telling yourself if you just look for the moment's joy, everything's going to be okay. It's recognizing that, you know what, whatever shit circumstances that you do or don't have going on at the moment may have had going on in the past or have come up in the future. Looking for the moments of joy are not going to fix them. They're not going to solve the situation, but they're not going to do any harm either.
No, and they are probably going to do some good. And thank you for pointing that out, because it doesn't cross my mind at all to suggest that those moments of joy are going to forget about all that bad stuff but I forget that some people do talk like that. So thank you for pointing that out. And it is very much finding the moments of joy whilst acknowledging the shit that is going on as well, if that is what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wonderful visualization there, which is that you could be standing in a field up to your waist in warm, stinky poo, looking at the sunrise. And the warm, stinky poo could be absolutely disgusting.
Yes.
But the sunrise could still be awesome.
Yes. And we can hold those two things at the same time, can't we?
We can, yes. Maybe just with a peg on your nose, but apart from that, you're good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's a good place to end, really, because otherwise we do sort of run the risk of just waffling.
Yep, that's going to happen. And I've finished my prosecco ages ago, so I'm done.
Oh my God, we better get you off it before you start saying anything else. I've only drunk half of mine.
Oh no, I'm long gone. I've got an empty glass.
Yeah, that's a big glass. If you, I didn't even see you fill it up.
Oh no, I did a little and then I topped it up, and we are gone, baby.
Well, we've only had little. What are they? 20 centiliter bottles. So Well, that's been very nice. It's been marvelous. Thank you, Pippa. And Philippa's rule. You are Philippa, like I am, but luckily you call yourself Pippa, and I call myself Philippa. Otherwise, we'd have had to fight for who was going to be Philippa and who was going to be something else.
Yeah, and it comes to something when you're incredibly good friends with another Philippa, right? That doesn't happen very often.
I didn't know any Philippas for years. So yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And actually, can I just say this, which has got absolutely, please indulge me, people who listen to Philippa's podcast, which is to thank you for being such a substantial part of the creation of my moments of joy this year, because you have been.
Oh, thanks. Well, you have been mine too, but thank you very much. I accept that with warmth in my heart for that. Thank you.
Now we are going to get gushy.
We are going to get cut it. We've got to go. It's all right. We'll just get back in that lake and we'll freeze over. No problem. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you very much for being here, Pippa. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you.
It was a joy. Thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate you back.
Good.
Well, and your front.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.